Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. I'm attorney Yael Brudner coming to you guys live from Orange County. It is so nice to be live again. I haven't gone live for a while, so I'm really happy to do it again. I'm streaming on multiple channels, so I'm on Facebook, YouTube, also on TikTok. Couldn't get Instagram to work, so I'm sorry about that. My apologies. Um, and today I have a lot of really good information to share with you all. Thank you so much for sending your questions um, through Instagram and through email and through Facebook messages. I have great questions, immigration Q&A. If you're joining us and you want to answer any questions live, feel free to answer them and to ask them, and I will definitely answer them as we go. Okay. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you for everyone joining us. Super, super glad to be here today. Like I said, I do have some questions already that folks have sent me in advance, but if you do have questions, feel free to send them in and I will get to them as we go. If you're watching the recording of this, you can still ask questions and I promise to answer them as well. Just general information today. We're not doing any specific legal advice. So if you do have any specific questions about your particular case and you want kind of a one-on-one consultation, feel free to reach out. Our number's here on the screen. We'd be happy to help you. Perfect. And just generally, before we start, I just want to comment and say that this is a great time to file your immigration case, specifically marriage-based immigration, marriage-based green cards. We've been seeing great results relatively quick. Some of our cases have been approved in 4, 5, or 6 months, which is really quick in the world of immigration. And we're seeing a lot of waivers of the interview. So usually the process for marriage-based cases is that the last part is the interview where the husband and the wife or the couple comes into an interview at an immigration office, and we've been seeing a lot of waivers of those interviews. So it's really, really, really a good time. So I encourage everyone, if you have a case, if you're thinking of applying, please don't wait. Next year, we're going to have an election in this country, in the US, and we don't know what kind of president we're going to have or what kind of administration we're going to have. So I encourage you all to take action on your cases. Awesome. So I do see some questions coming in. Let me see. Okay. So I have a question. Omar is asking, if someone came in with a B1, B2 visitor and they got married after 2 or 3 days, from arrival, then can a U.S. citizen apply for him or her? Is this legal and normal? Okay, so that's a really good question, Omar, and thank you for asking. So how soon basically can you apply for a green card if you entered as a tourist, as a B1 or B2 visitor? So usually we recommend to wait and not apply for your green card right away. Okay, so the act of getting married is not necessarily something you need to wait. So the act of getting married is not as much the issue as the act of applying for a green card based on this marriage. So we recommend to wait a little bit before you actually apply for the green card based on this marriage. Okay, usually we recommend to wait about 60 to 90 days to apply for your green card. And the reason is that if you come in as a visitor, right, you come in with a specific intent, and the intent is to visit, right, a temporary intent. So if you file for your green card, there might be a presumption that when you entered, maybe you didn't have a tourist intent, right? Maybe you had a permanent intent. Maybe when you entered as a tourist, the idea was to file for your green card in the United States, right? So you want to give it a little bit more time and not apply right away. Okay, I hope I answered that question. Getting married is okay, but applying for your green card, I recommend 60, 90 days. It's totally okay and it's legal to do. Okay, Perfect. So if you do have any questions, feel free to send them in the comments. Okay, and I see that there's a lot of questions coming in, so thank you. And if you want some personal information, just reach out to us personally, and our number is there. Let's see. Okay, I'm about to get married in Oregon, but I need a lawyer who will help me get my green card. My wife is a US citizen. Congratulations, Phil. It's so exciting on your upcoming marriage. Getting a lawyer to help you with your green card is a great idea. It's definitely my recommendation. And we can absolutely help you if you want to contact us directly, and we'll give you all the information that you need about that. Really, this is a great time to apply. We're seeing a lot of interview waivers. We're seeing relatively quick adjudications here in the United States. So I would take advantage of this time and apply for your green card right away. A lawyer, an attorney, if you have one on your case, really sets you up for success. Okay, really sets you up to get your case approved as quick as possible and smooth as possible. Okay, we do this all day and every day, so it's a really good idea. Perfect. Let's see. Let's see this question. Faraz is asking, if someone's in the US on a B2 visitor visa and his extension is denied, what are the consequences of that? Would I be able to re-enter to the US a year later as long as my 5-year visa is valid? Okay, Faraz, great question. So if you're here as a tourist, usually you'll receive an initial entry of usually it's 6 months, and you want to stay for an additional period of time, and you should file an extension of your status. If your extension is denied, then you will have to leave the country upon denial of the extension. However, as long as you filed to extend your status prior to the expiration of your status, right, and you have not worked without authorization in the United States, there should not be consequences to this. So if you file timely and you have not worked without authorization, then you're allowed to stay here in the United States while you're waiting the adjudication of your extension of status. If the extension of status is denied, you then need to depart, and there will not be consequences under those circumstances. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Let's see. Erica is asking, my boyfriend lives in Mexico and we want to get married, but he does not have a passport as yet, and I just want to get married already. Oh, that's that's so exciting. If your boyfriend lives in Mexico and you guys are going to get married, and eventually you're going to petition him for a green card to come here in the United States and live with you. Eventually, he will definitely need a passport, but he doesn't need a passport right now. If you want to go to Mexico and get married to him there, you could do that and then absolutely start the process for him by filing a petition for him. So I would encourage him to apply for the passport, for his Mexican passport in Mexico. But you can definitely travel to him. You guys can get married, and you can even start the petition process for him. He doesn't actually need a passport for that. He will need it eventually when he's getting his immigrant visa, but in the beginning he doesn't need it. But encourage him to file for it. Okay. Let's see. Thank you for everyone that's joining and asking questions. Let's see. I see some questions on TikTok. Perfect. If you have any questions, feel free to write them. I will promise to try to get to them as we go. Okay, perfect. Here's a question that came in earlier. My wife is a US citizen. She started the process for me, but she's now saying that she won't come with me to the interview. What should I do? So this question comes up more frequently than you guys would think. And really, if you're in a situation where you are married to a US citizen and you are in the process, your spouse petitioned you, then and something happened in the marriage, or you're having a hard time or some trouble, and your spouse does not want to continue the process for you, it's really important for me to let you know that you have options. So the fact that your spouse does not want to continue the process for you does not mean that that's the end. There's multiple things that you can do. You can continue the process by yourself. Most likely, you can continue it by yourself. So, I would definitely recommend contacting an immigration attorney, getting specific advice. If your interview is coming up soon, quick, you definitely need to go to the interview, and then having an attorney help you guide you with what the best thing to say is at your interview. But there's definitely options to switch from a marriage-based petition to a self-petition in a lot of cases. Okay, so the basis for this is VAWA, the VAWA Act, and it's a law that protects people that are in relationships that are unhealthy, that there's abuse or cruelty involved. And if that's what's going on in this relationship, and that's one of the reasons that your spouse is not coming with you to the interview, you can definitely continue the case by yourself. Okay. Let's see. Okay, there's a question here about filing fees. So I read that the filing fees for the I-130, the 45 are going to be increased. Have the higher fees already taken effect? I got married recently and my spouse and I are trying to start the filing. So the fees are the same. USCIS has been trying to raise them for a while, and they are going to raise them soon, but it hasn't happened yet. If you guys got married recently, congratulations. I definitely recommend starting your case. I mentioned this earlier when I just started. It's a great time to file for your marriage case. We've been seeing a lot of really quick decisions, a lot of interview waivers, and I feel like I cannot say this enough. Just start your process now. We don't know what's going to happen next year when we have an election in this country. We might get another different administration and things might be completely different. So if you're on the fence, you're thinking about starting, just go ahead and start. And as of now, the filing fees have not increased yet. Okay. So there's a question about parole in place. When can we apply for parole in place? My husband signed his contract, but he's has not gone to basic. So great question. Parole in place is one of my favorite immigration benefits. And I try to talk about it a lot because a lot of people don't know about it. So parole in place is a special benefit that's available for family members of people that serve in the military or that served in the military. So it's also applicable to veterans as well. And it's a great process because it can help someone that is here in the United States and they do not have a legal entry to the country. So they did not enter with a valid visa, didn't enter legally to the country. They can help them process their green card in the United States. And this is a big deal because if you did not enter the country legally and now you're married to a US citizen, or now you have a child that's over 21 that can petition you, you actually have to go back to your home country for the process, and you might need a waiver, and it's just a very long, prolonged process with a risk of leaving the country. But if you have parole in place, if you have an immediate family member that's in the military, you can apply for something called parole in place, and basically immigration will grant you parole, will grant you that legal entry that you need without even leaving the country. So it's a really good thing. If your husband has proof that he is in the military, he has his military card or any other proof that he's in the military, I think you can absolutely start it. So definitely reach out. We would love to help you. Like I said, it's one of my favorite immigration options because it really can change the course of your entire case and really, really help you out. So feel free to reach out if you want to talk specifically about your case. Okay. Folks, if you're joining right now, thank you so much. I'm answering immigration questions. Feel free to write your question in the comments, and I promise to try to get to it. And if you are watching the recording, then feel free to still write your questions, and I'll try to get to it later. Okay. Okay, there's a question on TikTok about what's the cost of the waiver for parole in place. So for parole in place, there's no filing fee, which is even really great. There is a filing fee for the adjustment of status that comes after. So after you're granted parole in place, you do have that parole. Then you can apply for your adjustment of status, and there is a fee for that of $1,225, so $1,225. Zarek is saying, for consular processing, can I join my spouse in the interview? So for those of you that don't know, consular processing is the process of applying for your green card at your home country, at the U.S. consulate or the U.S. embassy abroad. It's really a hit or miss. Most consular offices or embassies do not allow for the petitioner to come, but some do. So it really is depending on the country, and you can definitely come with your spouse, but it's not necessarily granted that you would be able to enter the interview with her. But you can definitely escort her to her interview. You're from Bangladesh. Okay, thanks for confirming. I don't know on the top of my head if Bangladesh allows for it, but if you do have an interview notice, you can reach out to the embassy and you can ask if you're allowed to come. Okay, let's see. Dylan has a question. My fiance and I filed the I-129F to start the K-1 process. Meanwhile, we may have an opportunity to get a work visa for her here in the US. If we get the work visa, is there any need for the K-1? So what kind of work visa? They're different intents. So the work visa is kind of a temporary visa to enter the United States for employment reasons, whereas the K-1 is more like an immigrant intent visa. So the intent of the K-1 is to enter for the purpose of getting married to you, the US citizen, and then applying for the green card. The issue with the K-1 is that it is extremely backlogged right now, and it can take up to 2 years to even enter as the K-1. So if your fiance has an option to enter on a temporary work visa, it might be better to do it that way. And then when she's here on that work visa, she can, if you guys get married, she can apply for her green card based on that here in the United States. So if she has an option for a work visa, it might be a lot quicker that way. So there wouldn't necessarily be a need for the K-1. Really the K-1, okay, the H-2B. Yeah, the H-2B is a temporary visa that will allow her to come work for an employer here. As long as she's here, she has authorization to stay here. She has authorization to work here. And then if you guys get married, then she can apply to adjust her status in the US. So if the H-2B is available for her, it's probably going to be quicker than the K-1. Okay. Awesome. I hope I answered that question. And I'm happy to consult with you specifically if you want to dig into it more personally. Let's see. Just reviewing all the questions. Okay. How long is the NVC processing currently? Processing times questions are so hard because it's all over the place. Really, it's inconsistent many times. And then it also depends on the type of case. But NVC processing times can take, it can take anywhere from 6 months to a year just to get the case ready. So with the NVC, basically, usually the NVC is getting the case ready for interview at the consulate. So it really depends on the consulate or the embassy's schedule and availability of appointments. So it's frustrating. Can't give you an exact answer for that. Okay. This is a question we got earlier. I received a letter from immigration asking for more documents to prove my marriage. We don't have many documents to send. What should I do? So we've been seeing letters like this come in because in the marriage-based cases right now, we're seeing waivers of the interview. So instead of calling the couple for an interview, many times immigration will send something called a request for evidence, requesting more proof of the relationship. But this letter can come also after an interview as well. So if you got a letter from immigration and they want more evidence for you, the most important thing is not to freak out, because it's not that they're denying their case. I know it's really nerve-wracking to receive the letter and it looks really intimidating, but basically this is an opportunity for you to supplement your case and further prove to immigration that you qualify. So if it's a marriage-based case and what immigration wants is proof that you qualify because you're a real marriage, this is your opportunity to prove that. And if you don't have many documents, that's when you need to get creative. Some couples are new couples, and maybe they don't have much evidence. Maybe they are living in different places temporarily because of all kinds of reasons. Maybe they are living with their parents. They're really young and they don't have a house and they're not leasing an apartment and they have not filed tax returns together and they're not working, so they don't have much documents. So it's actually pretty common for couples to struggle with this. So my recommendation is to, like I said, get creative, think about what you can supplement, what you can show to prove the relationship. The easiest things are pictures, photos of you guys together, photos in different places with different people and different occasions. Affidavits from friends and family are really good attesting. So people would write a letter on your behalf attesting to your relationship, giving specific examples about how they know that you guys are a real couple. And even things like gym memberships, Costco memberships. I even had a couple that decided to adopt a puppy together, and they filled out the adoption application on both of their names, and we submitted that too. So really, there's a lot of things that you can do to prove the relationship. Okay. Let's see. Perfect, Zarek. Thank you for emailing me today. I did not see the email yet, but I'll definitely look out for it. Okay. There's another question here. Let me read it out. My partner and I recently got our I-29F form approved for the K-1 visa. So that's the petition. That's a fiancé petition, which is the first part of the fiancé visa process. However, I decided to move to Qatar for the next year for 3 years to work. And so we're considering getting married abroad and applying for the spousal visa. I will continue to have domicile in the US. However, for the K-1 or spousal visa, I need to have a US-based income as I'm working in Qatar. Okay, so this question really has to do with what should you pick, right? Should you pick the fiancé visa or should you pick the marriage spousal visa? What's the best way to do? So if you're not living in the United States, then the fiancé visa, I don't know if it will help, because eventually your spouse will come to the United States and they'll only have 90 days. You'll have to get married here, and then they would have to apply for their green card in the United States. So if you're not planning to be in the United States for at least 3 years, you do have that option to switch and just get married and file a spousal petition. So file a petition based on marriage. Those are taking about 2 to 2.5 years right now. So it actually could be a good idea, since you're already going to be out of the country for 3 years, to switch to the marriage visa, but it's a very specific decision. It really has to do with your personal circumstances. So if you want to schedule a call, just call our number or text us, and we can have a longer call and really dive into your specific situation. Let's see. Oh, you're currently in the United States, but you're considering moving. Okay. So if you're doing the fiance process, take into account that when your fiance comes to the United States, you're going to have to be here for about a year for her to adjust her status. So it really depends. If you decide to stay in the United States, you've already started the fiance, maybe just a good idea to continue with that. You've already got the first part approved. But if you do move, if you make that decision to move, then it might be a good idea to switch to the spousal. Okay? Perfect. Let me see. I'm going to answer a couple more questions, guys. So if you have any, please feel free to write them here in the comments. Let's see. Okay, so a question here that we have is, what is the difference between the 2-year green card and the 10-year green card? Okay, so the 10-year green card and the 2-year green card comes to play generally with marriage-based cases. That's the most common reason that this question comes up. If you are married less than 2 years at the time that you receive your green card, you will receive a 2-year conditional green card. Okay. If you're married for more than 2 years at the time that you receive your green card, you would get a 10-year green card. Okay. So the 2-year green card is actually a conditional one, and it's given to couples that are newer couples that maybe do not have a lot of evidence to prove their relationship. And basically it requires another step. So when you get to that 2 years, so just before the 2-year mark, if you have a conditional green card, you will need to file a petition to remove the conditions on your green card to get the 10-year green card. And the removal of conditions process is like another petition. So basically, immigration wants to know what's going on with you guys. Are you guys still together? And wants to see more evidence of your relationship since the day that you got the green card. And with a 10-year green card, you don't need to do anything. There's no extra step. You got your 10-year green card. With both of these options, by the way, after 3 years, if you're living with and married to a U.S. citizen, then you can apply for naturalization to become a U.S. citizen. Okay, that's a great question. Thank you so much for that. Okay. There's a question here about Andre. Thank you so much for your question about volunteering while on a TN visa. Really, when you come in on a professional visa like a TN visa, you do have conditions attached to it, right? You're supposed to only work for your TN employer. However, you are eligible to volunteer as long as the volunteer work is not like work that someone usually gets paid for. So for example, if you're volunteering, handing out water bottles or just organizing a community event or something like that, that's totally fine. But if you're working in the office, or you're doing a job that usually is a paid position, then that might be considered a violation of your TN. So I wouldn't recommend that. Okay. Perfect. Okay, guys, I'm going to do a last question. Let's see. Okay, so it's another question, final question for tonight about processing times. How long does it take to get a marriage-based green card? Okay, so this is a question we get almost every single day. Everyone that calls us wants to know, how long is it going to take? And that question is super hard to answer because processing times are very inconsistent, and it really depends on how you're applying for your marriage-based green card. If you're doing adjustment of status in the United States, or you're doing what's called consular processing at your home country. So if you're doing the process at your home country, that means that you're applying for something called an immigrant visa. Um, and we're seeing about 24 months in average for that, for a petition from your home country. If you're applying for adjustment of status, meaning you're applying for your green card in the United States, we're seeing record times for this. So it's really, we're seeing a lot of really good processing times. We're still saying about to prepare for about 12 months, but we're actually seeing lower processing times with some approvals coming in 4 or 5, 6 months after we file. So if you are thinking of filing a marriage case and you're here in the United States, I want to encourage you to go ahead and just start your case as soon as possible. Awesome, guys. Well, it was so awesome to be here with you today. Thank you for everyone that joined. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. I would love to talk to you specifically about your case. And that's it for me for tonight. Have a wonderful evening and see you guys all soon.